Welcome to part 3 of our video series on how to convert to a marine composting head for your boat. In this episode, Michael and Esther, founders of WayfindersNow, talk about how they now use a composting toilet aboard their 35-foot sailboat. Now let's talk about the use, because with a different type of toilet, there's got to be different behaviors. So
yeah, I think one of the first things, which we didn't even talk about, but for guys, it requires a paradigm shift a little bit. If you're used to standing while peeing.
So you're talking about having to separate the liquid from the solids.
Yeah, so using in seated position, regardless of what business you're doing.
Okay.
It's a shift for guys, but not so much in the boating world, because if you're underway, unless you're planning on making a huge mess, you're probably sitting down anyway.
Yes.
So there is that. But on the other side of it, just the regular kind of stuff, we kind of pulled out this block as an example of coconut cord, which is what we use as our medium. There's a couple of options that you can use. You can use coconut core, peat moss, or hemp. We like the cocoa core and are exploring the options of hemp. The coconut core, it can be organically sourced. It's fairly low impact as far as environmentally.
So just to be clear, this is something that you have to put inside the chamber so that
it
provides a base for the solids to sit in.
It does two things. And one, it helps literally break it apart when it's fresh, and then also draws out moisture, because the coconut core itself and even peat moss and the hemp, even though you're adding water to them, because like this brick you need to add water to, because otherwise it's really dense and really solid, so you need to be able to break it apart. It'll be slightly damp when it goes into the unit, but it can absorb so much more moisture after you've already hydrated it. We use about 1 3/4 cups.
So yeah, that's honestly the main thing you need for a compost head, is just something to throw into the solids tank to draw out moisture and make things happy in there.
You're not putting any other kind of additive or enzyme or freshener or anything in there.
You really don't need to add anything extra. One of the things that actually makes cleaning up kind of easy too, when you're freshening up the unit itself, leaving a little bit of the old compost in there when you add more helps with that, because you're not starting from scratch. You keep the starter for next time, right?
What about toilet paper?
We've opted to just put our toilet paper in a separate bag, separate garbage bag, just so it's less stuff in the solids tank and less things to get mucked up into the turning device.
Yeah, because there's a crank arm usually on the side of the unit to help turn everything over, and it also adding toilet paper also fills up the tank more quickly.
Yeah,
sure.
And then when we dispose of solids, whatever you take your solids out into, we just use compostable bags, and that's about it.
And so where does that go? So just talk us through sort of the day in the life.
So we usually get about 2.5 to 3 weeks out of the solid bin before we need to freshen that back up.
Okay.
Which is significantly longer than our old 18-gallon holding tank. That's a win right there, in our opinion. The liquids, like I said, we usually do that daily. We really could probably go 2 or more.
Probably could do 2 days.
As long as there's easy access to shore facilities, you can just bring that up, dump it in a toilet, and send it on its merry way. Urine is super sterile, generally, as long as you're not ill. In U.S. waters, and I believe in Canadian waters too, it's by catching urine and diverting it from your solids, it's considered treatment. Unless you're in a full no discharge zone, which there's actually very few of those. Not just restricted discharge, which you have a standard marine head, that's where you still have to hold and pump out. You could take the urine jug and dump it overboard, but we try to prefer to handle it more discreetly. And the solids, we turn them over into a compostable 13-gallon bag that you would have in your kitchen or whatever. US, and most places, you could just add that to your standard trash. Really preferable would be if you could add them to another compost bin and continue to let them naturally compost. That would really be the best, and then it becomes fertilizer for your non-edible plants.
I was going to say, Michael mentioned, for us 2 people, roughly 2.5 to 3 weeks. We just err on the conservative side because it does make cleaning for the next batch a little bit easier. The other point we wanted to make is surprisingly how short of a time it takes to clean for the next batch. Like Michael, I mean, I could swear you're in and out within 5 to 7 minutes.
It's a quick cleanup. There's not really a lot of parts. And the great thing is that it's not bolted into your boat or like your toilet at home where it's bolted to the ground. You know, you can take it out of the head. Bring it out into the cockpit, hose it off, do whatever you need to do, like deal with all the dirty stuff away from the bathroom.
When you have something that malfunction with a marine head, the consequences are way bigger than a compost head. The worst case scenario of a compost head that I can think of is if the compost isn't happy, the balance is a little bit off, and we did experience that at the beginning because we were just learning about the ratio. So that's one of the worst case, and the other worst case is for some reason if the unit somehow fell over or something, even that, the mess would be pretty contained. Whereas if you have we've seen this with other boaters who've had something go wrong with their marine head, it is disaster.
I think if there's any boater that's watching this video has just been nodding their head profusely when you just talk about that. I mean, that's just the underbelly of boating. Everybody has a problem with their head eventually.
Yeah,
what about operational costs? So how does it compare to the way in which you had a traditional head before?
Yeah, do you know roughly how much, I'm forgetting how much the cocoa floor costs?
About a 6-month supply is between $25 to $30 US. About $5 a month. But the other side, kind of point out is the hidden costs of a head. The really only hidden cost is when one of those seals that keeps things airtight will fail and have to be replaced. Because everything else is just very mechanical. There's nothing really to it. There's nothing to break, and the plastic is thick, so it's not going to crack or degrade. You know, our old marine head, we had to rebuild the pump every year. We had to replace the joker valve pretty much every year. I mean, the rebuild kit on that's $80.
And it's not a very pleasant job.
And it's a really shitty job. And it's certainly not fun.
Given your experience, you've had this head now for some time. You've used it at dockside. You've also used it with your extended cruising. So would you recommend a composting head to boaters?
Definitely, like for a small crew of 2 to 4 people, or up to like 4 people, or if you are on board part-time. And I'm only speaking like if you only have one head. So we would recommend it for a small crew or a part-time crew.
Yeah.
I think it's really ideal. We certainly, I mean, it's a really good fit for our needs, and we definitely wish we'd done it sooner if we could have.
So if you had multiple heads, you could serve, I mean, I think what you're saying, Esther, is that one head could service 2 to 4 people.
Yeah, we were thinking about that. Like if there's more than one head, but you have a larger crew, we still think it could be worth having a compost head. It just gives you, especially if you have more than one head, it just gives you that added flexibility and kind of peace of mind. Like you're not dependent on wherever your next pump out's going to be. So that, I think, personally, I think we both agree that that's worth it.
Yeah, I think if we had 2 heads on board, I would say with full confidence that at least one of them would be a composting head.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I have to say, like, when we were researching this option, like, I was nervous and skeptical about the whole, like, oh, it doesn't smell. I was going, really? Like, is that really true? I can now say after, we've been having this for over a year, if there is any aroma or whatever, the most comparable would be just potting soil. There's no, like, unpleasant that we have all, like, experienced in public bathrooms or whatever. It's nothing like that. And then I think the other thing is like the solids tank, which I know is probably like the thing people wonder about. I was also surprised, like once it's like doing its work and it's compost, when you open it up, to be honest, that's what it looks like. It's potting soil.
Really?
It looks like potting soil. It doesn't really smell at all. Oh, and the other maintenance thing we didn't mention. One thing we do that we recommend is after each use, we just have a little spray bottle of water with a teeny bit of bleach.
A really tiny bit.
Very teeny. And we just do that, and it kind of helps keep itself clean.
So that somebody doesn't correct us in the comments that it's called a composting toilet, but when at the end of 3 weeks, what you're disposing of isn't actual fully composted material.
Right.
That should really be noted as kind of not necessarily a misnomer because it's the process. So if you wanted like actual like compost, say you have a tiny house or a cabin in the woods and you actually wanted to finish that composting process, you can put it in a composting pile, but it needs more time. Right. I mean, I think to fully compost even household goods, it takes months.
Yeah.
But as long as the system is operating properly, all of the good bacteria in your gut have taken over within 8 hours. So what you're handling and what you're dealing with is really safe. Obviously, you don't want to be getting in there with your hands and like rub, But just the point is that you're not keeping anything on board that is potentially going to be harmful or toxic to you.
Esther, Michael, this has been fantastic. I mean, it's one thing to read a sales brochure on somebody's website about a product like a toilet. To have you folks who've converted a traditional head into a composting head and have used it in a variety of situations. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bruno.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's been fun.
Thank you for watching this series on converting to a composting marine head. Remember to hit that subscribe button so that you will be notified when the next episode is published. Get your free copy of the Practical Guide to Green Boating. A download link is in the description below. This is the Green Boater helping you create the ocean you love.